It's the live button.
Oh, there's Kenny. And we are live right now, 20 seconds in. Let's play some share around music and see what we can get. Here we go. All right, let me get some stuff shared around here. A little lumpy. All right, man. All right, guys, you ready to roll intro?
Let's do it. Ready.
Let's do it, man. Here we go. Hello, faithful followers. Matt with the ABTA, joined by Megan Schmidt of the ABTA, and special guest of the hour, Nikki and Shane Keener.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah. So, folks, we are doing the Oklahoma recap show. And we'll just see where this conversation goes. Megan, the old grizzled veteran of the stream, and today my co-conspirator and the brains of the operation when it came to the Oklahoma event. And we may be joined later by another participant at the event if he can break away and get on. Hopefully he can because. It would be awesome. Hey, Michael, good evening. So, I want to start with a little bit of tracking news. I'm a little off my game, man. With the weekend was busy, and I'm tired still. And I've had a series of events after the. We'll call it like the old movie, a series of unfortunate events. After the movie, Nikki and Shane, you probably didn't hear, but I come home to my wife sitting in the chair with crutches because she blew out her knee. So we spent more time than either of us cared to in the emergency room. Hot on the heels of me getting back after leaving both of my phones in Ethan's truck. So my work phone and my personal phone went to Arkansas while I went to Michigan. It was a bit of a challenge. Thank goodness for Facebook and old phones. Look, I have my old phone that if I'm connected to Wi-Fi, I don't have to think I'm a pilgrim getting off the Mayflower with no connection.
Not to mention the 2 quarts of blood that you left up there at the lake. We have some photos.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah. Speaking of 2 quarts of blood, so I was gifted. What's that? Yeah.
He was talking about
maybe
your
I'll.
arm.
You know what he was talking about. Maybe I'll pull up a picture and share with those. But speaking of blood, was gifted some of that dehydrated blood. I was really intrigued by it.
Oh yeah, that stuff is wonderful. That's what I use in the off season.
Yeah, well, my dog.
4 years now.
Dog, where is he? Little Runts over there. My wife's dog thought it was wonderful too because I wake up this morning and he had shredded the package and it was all over the carpet.
No, I'm so sorry. I'll send you some more. I have some stockpiled. Don't tell James.
It's worth its weight in gold, I can tell you. We've had some here, and when I always forget, we'll go through some of the blood that we have, and there's always that packet there, and you can use it at any time you need.
Saved us quite a few times.
But we need to invest in stronger packaging.
Well, no, it doesn't need to be invested stronger. The packaging was perfectly fine. It was the lack of care on my part and a meat-headed little dog. Where is he? Can you see him over there?
Yeah, I can see him.
Oh, I can see him
over there on the couch
back there.
Yeah, there he is, the little snot. But I guess it's my fault, but I'm still blaming him. But anyway, so it's not about. I don't mean to make it a pity fest about me, but it's been lumpy. So I'm tired and I don't have all my stuff together. But in tracking news, Ohio, we talked about it before. Ohio is there's a movement to an initiative there to allow off-lead tracking. And our good friend and ABTA board member and Judge Joe Tenney called me the other day. And their commission had their session where they were allowed to speak. Everybody got 3 minutes public comments. So Joe and another tracker were able to provide some commentary and feedback, and they were each able to read a prepared, I'll call it a speech, but a prepared statement, I guess, written by Kenny. So there was some nice stuff there. So it seemed to be very well received. So it's in the next phase of whatever Ohio's process is, but it seemed to be, that's one step closer in the process. Who knows where to land? But that's the ABTA news, tracking news, I guess. Ohio is one step closer to off-lead tracking. But we'll see. Joe, if you're listening and you have an update on that or want to provide more details, put it in the comments. Don't text me because I don't have my phone. I can't read it. So put it in the comments here or send it on Facebook Messenger. But good evening, everyone. Hi, Kenny. So anyway, Oklahoma. I got to tell you, that was a fun time for me. Now, Shane, you're right. I did make a donation. I told the Red Cross where to go for their stockpiles, but it was. I tell you, I had a great time. It was a intimate group, which is wonderful. I felt like we were able to engage in some pretty personal conversations, and everybody was welcoming. And the facilities, Megan, you guys have a wonderful facilities there. You guys have done Tracklahoma there forever. And Joe says I texted him to you yesterday. Yeah, thanks, Joe. You're going to have to message him to me or fill him in the comment. But anyway, beautiful facilities. And boy,
Oklahoma Department of Wildlife has, since I was a kid, my dad was an officer, and so I got to see a lot of the works that they did throughout the years. And I have to say, Oklahoma Department of Wildlife is really on top of their game. They put a lot of money into food plots and places, and so they've always done a really good job on upkeeping the facilities so that people can use them here. We have a good foundation of a hunting family here,
Yeah, well, that was very evident. I mean, everybody, the staff at the facilities was wonderful. The attendees were wonderful. The passers-by were wonderful. To me, it was an overall very good experience, and I think it'll be a good one to build on, if we're asked to come back, I think it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of good, So I want to take a moment, Megan, and I'll let you chime in as my co-host and co-conspirator here. But I do want to qualify. Shane and Nikki were the event photographers. So,
you want to add Michael Miller to that?
And Michael Miller, yeah. Shane and Nikki and Michael Miller were event photographers. And I hand it to Michael. He was tagging along on the test lines in these Jurassic thorny vines that would just assume eat you alive is not. And I hand it to you guys. But Shane and Nikki, tell us a little bit about. Give us, your 60-second bio in terms of who you are, your tracking background, what your photography and all of that stuff. Because I'm super stoked to see these pictures. I know you got some good stuff. But share a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Nikki. We're both pretty green. This is only like our second season into this. So far, loving it. But the top photography has been pretty high for him for many years now. It's been a hobby that I've just kind of dipped into the past few years, but I'm really finding a niche and a love for it with the dogs and the tracking here. So it was so exciting to get to actually take photography for the event.
And Nikki currently works with animals and around them, so dogs is kind of her everyday work, and then we get to come home and then play. My experience is I'm a mechanical engineer. I invent equipment and machines that do different things for plants of all species, and I am really founded in hunting and fishing. My parents grew up, every family reunion everywhere was hunting or fishing related, and so I had a love for hunting and fishing so much that I used to put together TV shows and stuff for Oklahoma hunting and fishing industry, and did trailers. Awesome. And then so I would go to like Canada and film, and we'd shoot like black bears, or in Florida and we'd do Osceola turkeys out in the orange fields. and be hunting gators, by the evening. And so I really got a lot of experience in that. And hunting myself, I've often lost a few deer along the way, and I'm not a person to waste anything. People like James Jaggers has taught me about like bone meal gravy and how important that is for a dog. And I never knew that I could use scraps for my own table. So I make them food just like I make myself food, and they're just happy as all get out to receive it. So there's a lot of things that I've been learning in both plants and animals, and I find it very interesting, and I'm intrigued by it. And so I explore every venue to do something with my wife as a team, no matter whether it's a festival that we create or playing bluegrass. We have a show this Friday that we're doing a concert on Saturday that is in Grove, Oklahoma. So we do a lot of different things. We do a lot of event photography and things that incorporate a lot of these skills.
I'd rather just stick to dogs, though.
Yeah.
What's that, Nikki?
I said I'd rather just stick to the dogs, though.
So I did not know this. Nikki, we didn't get a chance to talk a lot about while we were there. But so tell me, what do you do with dogs? Tell me what you do.
Nothing that serious. I work at a grooming salon. I work the front desk at a grooming salon.
Okay, so you're with dogs and animals, man. Okay.
Yeah, that's all behavioral control there because they're frightened. They're in a frightened place, and it's sometimes a scary situation.
They're just turds sometimes.
So that's why
Are you saying that Nikki scares the dogs when they come in?
Well, sometimes I have to get my mom voice on the occasion.
I'm teasing, Nikki. I'm teasing, of course. I'm teasing.
I've always considered her like a Disney princess. Every animal just reacts so kindly around her, and so it's.
I will say you definitely end up saying so many things you don't think you're going to ever say out loud, working with kids or dogs, hands down.
Yeah, well, it was like I said, I got to see you around dogs and a couple of juvenile men, me being one of them, and so we're not kids, but we're juvenile, and you were pleasant enough, I guess we'll say. It was fun.
Our dogs are both rescues, so it was important to not only pull them out of the situation they were in. We found homes for their other brothers and sisters, but being that they're collies, they're unique and they're so smart and they want to please you so much. And I think it's because me and her are interested in hunting. I don't know what it is, but they found a love for it, and we don't want to ever take that away from them. So by going out, it's good practice for us, and it's good entertainment for them, because if they don't enjoy it, why would they do it? We talked a lot about that at this time, reward.
Yeah, exactly. Ethan had a whole presentation on and just that, really. It was
that was the main focus, the key to me. That was the highlight, because coming home, I almost felt guilty about certain stuff. It held me accountable for the way that I may be rewarding, and it made me go back and think, was I the best reward I could give that dog, at that time? And did I have a snack in my pocket, that you guys always carry the snacks? And if he finds it, and sometimes he doesn't want to play, he just wants that approval and you to give him a snack. And so it just made me rethink the whole situation. We're changing that here at home immediately.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And we'll get into some of that more specifically as we roll here, in terms of Ethan's presentation, if you want to. But I know he and I were chatting while he was putting it together, and it was evident right away to me that it was going to be good. It's a balance. Even what I presented is a balance, because it's not something you typically see, or it's nothing that I have seen at events that I've been to, so it's different. But I think I think there's value in both of them. I think, but it's just my perception. So, I wanted to, again, just allow you guys to share your thoughts and opinions. But Megan, before we dive in, I want to toss it to you to share, your opening statements.
First, I just want to start by thanking the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife for, like you said, letting us use Lake Arcadia again this year. Damon and Colby were great, assisting with helping us, make sure that we knew where everything was in the building. That was the first time that I've actually hosted the event and not just been a participant. So I learned a lot, and it was really exciting to go through that process with you guys and with them. So looking forward to being able to do that again in the future, as well as thank you to the ABTA members who assisted and helped along the way. We've been planning this, I want to say, since September, so about 8 months, and there were some blips along the way, but I think overall it was a successful event for the size of it, and I think it seemed like everybody was really engaging and had a good time, and that was the ultimate goal. So thank you, Matt and Ethan, for coming and helping us. You guys had some hard work in front of you that I don't know that you maybe realized with the terrain that we have here in central Oklahoma. It's a little bit different than far western or eastern Oklahoma. So you guys kept it out, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to scold you for that. You knew there were intertwangled death vines from hanging from every tree, but you didn't tell us that.
We tell you guys all the time. I think you just didn't realize the extent of it. Every post I have, well, we got stuck in some briars.
No, it's like
now,
come
there's a real addiction.
On a golf course. That's what I heard.
Her dog is named as Briar, Matt.
Yeah, I know, but
that is specifically why, actually.
We have briars in Michigan. Those were not briars. And if I ever get my phone back, and I will, it will. I will be posting pictures of that entangled mess that shredded
some people
me.
call them devil vines. Some people call them green briars. I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm from Las Vegas, where we just have sand and Joshua trees and cactus. So to me, they're just about as bad as cactus and Joshua trees. But it's I've always been told they're called briars, but different people, depends where you're from, I guess, what they're called. But they're terrible.
I suppose so.
You have some. I've got some scarring myself. That's why I bought. That's why I got the jacket last year, and it's worth its weight in gold as far as I'm concerned.
Let me tell you what. I have my Dan's gear jacket, but it's insulated. It was like 80. To me, that's 150. Yeah. Wait a minute, Vines. Kenny says you better believe it. Wait a damn minute. Those Vines said. And it was unpleasant, but I will be getting me. In fact, I may be ordering it here for too long. A Dan's Gear lightweight jacket, uninsulated, because whew.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still warm. You still sweat, but it's worth it to not be cut up quite so bad. But
yeah,
definitely, if anybody comes next year, keep that in mind. It's treacherous in some places.
It was lumpy, but you know what? Despite all of that, I thought it was an excellent testing event. I had a great time. They have vintage. Okay, Kenny, I'll be digging. Yeah, I'll be checking that out. But I would tell you, I thought the testing was awesome. We had, what was it, Megan? 10 tests, 1 introductory evaluation, or was it 10?
I think we had 11 tests and 1 introductory evaluation, if I remember correctly, or it may have been 11 together. But we had 7 successful tests out of those, and from what I've been told, the introductory evaluation went excellent as well. So overall, I'm super happy with the turnout that we had and the success that everybody had in their testing, because a lot of these people came from other states. A lot of them were not even from Oklahoma. We had people from 3 teams from Missouri. I'm sorry, 3 teams from Kansas and 1 from Missouri, and their dogs were exceptional. So it was really cool to see people from out of state wanting to come and get their dogs tested with ABTA, because they don't have the opportunity to do that in the states that they're in. So they made the trip, and they all were successful. So I think that is amazing.
So who all was from Kansas? I know Iva and her husband.
All 3 of the Bavarians were from Kansas.
Oh, all 3 Bavarians were from Kansas?
Yeah. So Scott and Prairie, I believe was her
Yeah,
name.
Scott Prairie,
They are from Iva's dogs, which were the other two Bavarians. That's where Scott got his dog from our conversation. So
yeah, that's right.
super, super nice dogs. If anybody's listening from Kansas and you guys lose a deer, 100%, I would recommend giving any of those people a shout, because those dogs were very impressive to watch. Very impressive.
I would too. Yeah, and I got to see two of the Bavarians run, so I would recommend them as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we had
Like 11 minutes, wasn't it? Was that
Southeast, I want to say Southeast Missouri Big Game Recovery, I think is their Facebook page.
Yep.
Matt and Elizabeth, and they were awesome. They have bloodhounds, and I didn't get to see his test, but I heard great things about it. So it was really nice to have them there as well. We kind of pull from their experience with other seminars. They've been to a lot of different seminars, and gave us a lot of good insight and feedback. So it was great to have them there also.
And Matt may be joining us. We'll see if he can break away and get some stuff wrapped up. He may hop on here. So, and I judged. I was the judge on his test when you were running yours.
Yep.
Megan tested
That's why
too.
I missed it. I wish it wasn't that way. I wanted to see it, but that's the way the cookie crumbled. So.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. So, yeah, it was fun. It was good. Obviously, every time you go to one of these events, like I said, the testing I thought was very smooth. Some of the most energized conversation we had Saturday was surrounding the event, the testing, and some of the most engaging conversation and just overall enthusiastic and energized conversation just came from when Ethan and I pulled up a chair, and heck, even initially when all four of the judges were up there, just talking, not a script, nothing, just talking, and there was just this great dynamic flow going, and it was, to me, it was really it was just natural and fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and others seemed to. That was my perception, But we always, after these events, we always evaluate. Okay, what went right, what went wrong, what should we change, and that's just perpetual. You do that all the time. Maybe just something didn't go as we thought it would, doesn't necessarily mean it needs to change. Maybe it's just we need to tweak it or something, But all in all, I will tell you, we were rolling out a new format. That was the inaugural run of the new format, and there will be some tweaks from it. There should be. There needs to be. I mean, that was the pilot, but it was good, And Megan, I know you've received some feedback that I want to talk to you about, privately. Constructive information, while just some nice, positive, kind words as well. So. I'm pretty stoked about the debrief, Megan, when we can really sit down and do it, and I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah,
just pretty stoked and inspired just about the way the testing went. It was just really good.
It was. I think Ralph did. Shout out to Ralph. And Kayla, you helped also with the scheduling, because when we initially discussed it, and you said that you were sending me that packet, I don't think I fully comprehended what your brainchild with that was. So I was a little nervous, and it was flawless. So
it was great.
Ended up just bumping it up a couple hours from what was printed on there, and it ran lockstep. So I appreciate your hard work with doing that, because there was no questioning, there was no hesitation. We went, laid a line, went to the next line, laid that line, came back, let it age out. And then started, with the people when we got back, started the next test. So it was very smooth and efficient, in my opinion, from what I saw. And that's appreciative, because that is kind of a stress factor, especially for myself, who, like I said, that was my first event hosting. So that really helped kind of ease the stress on that. And I think it I think it ran pretty efficiently. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody knew who was doing what and when we were doing it, and it just worked. It just fell in. I mean, of course it worked, but it just fell into place, and it was great. So
my favorite part was the baggies.
the swag bag.
They were pretty
This
slick.
thing right here is legit because we were looking online trying to emulate some of the other more experienced trackers, and so we were trying to
You really thought of everything in there, girl.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
This would serve for any human.
Yeah,
there's
well,
scissors and stuff in here. It's amazing.
Safety first. So when I was thinking about what I could do as far as like the little gift bags and stuff, I was kind of stuck, and I didn't want it to be the same stuff that you get everywhere. So last year, unfortunately, we had a lot of teams that had, and the year before that, to be honest, we had a lot of teams here in Oklahoma that had either medical emergencies with themselves or their dogs while on a track. So we tried to put together just some things that I like to use and that, you know, could be helpful in an emergency type situation that a lot of people don't think to carry with them. So, you know, blood stop, vet wrap, I always carry with me, you know, just for extreme emergencies because you never know what's going to happen.
So wait a minute, you had blood stop and all of this whole emergency kit, and you guys let me bleed out in the
Hold
woods.
on, time out. The big
I'm
bag,
all
the
lightheaded.
camouflage bag that I carried when I told you was my first aid kit. It's like 4 times the size, and I carry it with me everywhere. But yes, I believe I mentioned a few times, hey Matt, I have my first aid kit here. But you know, we were busy. We were rolling.
Well, what I heard was, hey Matt, I have my first aid kit here, but I'm too busy, so just keep going.
No, it's here's my first aid kit sitting on the ice chest if you need it. Help yourself. I did feel bad about that afterward. I thought about it when I think after I got done with my test, and I was like, I wonder if Matt remembered it that I have my first aid kit. And I was like, oh, he's a big, strong guy, so he probably doesn't care. But yeah, I carry all of that stuff with me.
It burns bad on an open wound.
Yeah. No, it stings, but it works. And the powder stuff you can use on the dogs also. It's like a quick stop. But, you know, like I said, just extreme emergencies. If you're out in the field, you know, get bit by a snake, fall and cut yourself. You know, somebody shoots you with their crossbow. Shout out to Ron for that. That was when I really was like, oh my goodness, I need to start carrying some more first aid stuff. So there's a tourniquet in there. Mine is a little bit different than the ones that they have. Like it has a compass, it has an emergency knife, warming blanket, all kinds of stuff in it. So those are just some things that I think are important that is often overlooked as far as when we're out tracking for the public, and especially in an area you don't go to often, or if it's further away from medical help. Where I usually track, it's usually over an hour if you have to call an ambulance to get there. So I just try and keep that stuff and be mindful for other people. Think about
and of course,
and the liver treats. Those are for the dogs. Yeah. So there was liver treats in there, and then some little mini bottles of peroxide like this. We always carry those. These are great for hunters or kids. Like if you have kids on a track, you spray the blood, it foams up, and they like that. It's like a little party trick to keep them occupied. So all that was in there. I'm glad you guys like that. That's cool. I was a little nervous about it. And then Kayla sent some awesome Oklahoma or American Blood Tracker stickers, so we threw those in there.
I was so excited to finally get one.
Yeah, we need something to put on our cars.
Everybody loves stickers. I was excited. I was like, oh, we get to get stickers.
They're nice. All right, so look, let me just do this for those watching at home or watching back later. I'll show you what Megan did to me.
Viewer discretion advised.
And just let me do it. Leave studio. Where's my here we go. Screen. Bear with me, guys. I think this is what I want. This is what I want to share right here. Share. There it is. Can you guys see that?
Oh,
it's loading.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we are. Look, Megan's even laughing at me.
No, I was taking a picture right when you were taking a picture, and I was like, "Look, there's my picture," but you can't see it. But that's what it was, or maybe it
There's
was
a
our line that we
possibility
did.
that you were less than a foot away from a med kit.
Yeah,
No,
there
the
I
med
am.
kit was inside on the ice chest. Yeah, I carry a miniaturized version with me, but my big med kit is always in the truck anytime I leave the house. So yeah,
Yeah, probably some of the most
there's some good
iconic
stuff.
photos that are taken that we were going through today. Man, it looks something.
You guys definitely earned your battle scars.
Yeah, you got Oklahoma blood through transfer.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm being very dramatic about it because I like picking on Megan. I mean, it. Don't get me wrong, my arms were a little tender, and of course I
Yeah,
got mild sunburn too. But it just wasn't that big of a deal. It looked really bad.
I think it's important to lay life like real circumstance tracks. So
Yeah.
when I'm not tracking, we're going through that stuff more often than not. So gives a little context. We're not just out here walking around in the grass. Some people, they get the nice fields, and usually in Oklahoma, that's not the case for us. So
Yeah,
life like it's possible.
it was very much lifelike, I suppose. So, well, look, Shane and Nikki, if you don't mind, I would just like to kind of give you guys the floor and just let you riff about whatever it is that you would like to share, or whatever details. What did you like most? What did you like least? What do you think you are really going to take home and apply to training or tracking? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? I'm just genuinely interested in your thoughts, because I do very sincerely appreciate your level of engagement throughout the event, your commitment to the pictures. Shane, you were trying to participate in the learning while trying to participate in the in the photo content, and I'm super stoked about seeing the videos you're going to put together, and the in the pictures. I know they're going to be fabulous. I just know they are because I saw what you guys were doing. So I'd love for you to just share, both of you.
Well, first and foremost, I guess to us, it's probably like the dogs. I guess I'm there for the dogs first and foremost. Secondly, I'm there to meet other people. I think that's the biggest. I learn a lot from being around people who are better at something than I am. That's what you surround yourself around. And then being in that kind of existence, same way with music was for me, it allows me to learn from the best of the best. And we wouldn't normally meet the people that you had brought in unless this event took place. So the importance of the event to carry on and for people to participate, it's like Michael Miller, you met him. Well, that dude, I called him one day and I was like, hey, I got to track this season. I was like, do you want to go? You got your camera? And he's like, oh, I've been wanting to go so bad. So he drove all the way down to my house, like an hour. Then we drove another hour to the location. He got his camera out. We did all the right stuff that you were supposed to do, but we didn't wind up finding the deer because we had to stop at a property line, just like the test. And then on the way back home, somebody else called us and we got another opportunity for a track. And that one stopped at another property line that we had to stop on. So it was two unsuccessful tracks. But just the going through and watching Topper do his thing inspired Mike. So he's got his dog Precious, and he's been playing a little bit with her, around the house. And the cool thing is nobody knows if they have an all-star or not. That's really the cool thing. I mean, all dogs do some of the similar things. There's different types and different mentalities to accomplish. I mean, just seeing a little bloodhound blows my mind. Just all he cares about is everything 2 inches in front of his face, and he can go through and do a test that me and Topper has been working, 2 years on, because it's just different mentalities. And so you have to learn. You have to be willing to learn, what your dog will present to you and how to incorporate that in the field. And it's just like music in my case. The more practice, the better. So I love the event because for the money that went down to be and participate, You guys don't make enough for what you do. You know,
we
I
really
would.
benefit a lot.
So
As a
it's
participant.
almost more trouble and costs more to lay my own tracks. And here, Megan calls me on a Saturday, and me and my wife get this bonus deal where it's like, oh my gosh, we get to go track at Lexington. Those relationships, the experience I've had with Megan and some of the other people of the group, none of that would have ever happened. And I have to commend all the groups of the tracking organization. It didn't take me 2 days to get hooked up with a pro. And they start giving you the basics to what you need to do, and if you want to pursue, they give you every opportunity to do so and never ask for anything back. Those type of people you don't run into every day. Those are what events are in organizations, and we're really proud to be in any part of what you guys do. So that's my take on it.
I mean, and I agree with most of that, and as I say, especially, like, not to dog on any one gender or the other, but especially as a woman coming into this green and unseasoned, it was really intimidating. And I know a lot of people probably think, oh, dogs just do that. Well, I don't really need somebody to help me. But it is a lot more labor intensive than you think it is. And I
Oh
don't think
boy,
we would be
isn't
where we are had we not made the connection and the mentorship that we did, and being able to riff off of other people at these events that are also kind of walking the same walk as you in their seasons. They're also green. You just make leaps and bounds that you can't do without that community otherwise. So I love the events that you guys put on. I appreciated everything about it. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you go over, I might have heard it already, but you always pick up some little piece that you missed the first time around, or like a new way of doing it that maybe would work better than what you've been doing. Just
And I like the lessons for multicultural places. You bring in a lot of talent from other locations. This one this year was Ethan. Ethan blew my mind. Like, his way of singing and how to track and stuff, it's different than everybody else's. It's just like hearing another sound or somebody playing a different instrument. There's a new influence to be added, not to take away from anything, only to add or build to the composite. So for me, having his point of view and talking about certain things, nobody ever hits the same topics. Each one of us are learning something and have our own unique art with it. And it's really, the dogs know more than we do. It's really training class for the humans, I believe, in this case, to learn what it is that your dog already knows naturally, and learning how to critique it in a fashion that is, like you were showing double tracks, where I couldn't even see the actual bloodline you laid on a GPS. Like, that's what we're trying to get to, but there's a lot of things that happen along the route that your single dog will do, and it's how you work through those. And so it's a challenge. It's a new game for every animal out there. It's never the same thing. It's kind of fun. I love the hunt.
Yeah, fun. Be careful. It quickly becomes a compulsive disorder. Some might even consider it an addiction.
And some people don't appreciate it either, because I've been on the outside looking in, where you come there and you're like, does that guy know what he's doing? Is he just here, nobody's there. That person doesn't drive halfway across the state. I know I don't drive halfway across the state to do anything but help somebody. So if my dog's not having a bad day, or it's an unsuccessful track or something like that, those things, they do bother me. But it just lets me know that I need more practice. And so I think a lot of people going through these courses are doing it right, and they should be known for that. And when people call and they look on these lists, it's someone you can trust to come here, because in my experience, I see a lot of people trying, but me just being in it for the last 2 years, I can look on that and say, there's a lot of room for improvement, there. And so there's a lot of people that say they want to do it, and there's a lot of people that practice. And I think that's the difference here. There's a lot of people that like to practice to make things as best for their dogs, as well as the people who are using them.
Yeah, and I appreciate that feedback. You're right. Repetition is the mother of all skill. So the only way you get better is by doing it and taking in information. And tracking information now is ubiquitous, right? It's everywhere. You can go on any Facebook page, but that doesn't mean it's all good.
Right.
We kind of got into a little bit of a unscripted conversation about some of that, and a lot of it boils down to philosophy. What do you believe? We talk about. I kind of touched on a little bit. Well, why do we believe that? For example, the grid searches. Well, what causes grid searches to be a problem? And we all agreed that we think it's this. Well, why do we think it's that?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to challenge what I call the conventional wisdom, because things get legs because they're repeated over and over again. That doesn't necessarily make them so or accurate. They just become socialized and normalized, and then the next guy says, "Oh, I saw this on the Facebook page," so he repeats it. But there's really nothing. What is the source of that of that statement? Why do we think that? And I've been doing that an awful lot lately, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of what Ethan and I talked about, infographics. You can go anywhere and find an infographic. Well, if it's there, if it's everywhere behind every corner and on every page on an infographic, maybe we need to think about, maybe that's not something we need to spend a lot of time talking about at a seminar, because everybody has that information. So what can we do that presents, there's only so many ways to slice the tracking pie, right? In terms of the content, but there might be different ways of looking at it and presenting it. And there might be different ways of challenging it. There might be different ways of elements of tracking that aren't talked about, like Ethan's presentation. Yes, I just read Kimmy's comment. Ethan's information. Remember, I told you when we started, listen to him. What I say is my philosophical approach and how my thinking has developed over time. Ethan's is settled science, and what I meant by that is how dogs learn. And a lot of what he was talking about is how dogs learn, and you don't hear a lot about that, but it's so directly relates to tracking. And I fall way short of all of the things that he was talking about there, and he and I talk all the time. So I know I've got the puppy. I'm gonna do things differently, but that stuff does matter, and you don't see it a lot. So but does it resonate? It might take time. Does it resonate with everybody? And sometimes it doesn't. We can talk about scent moves, scent eddies, scent does this, scent goes.
It was the difference in the demonstrations, and I'll point out a few things at the event that you did that I had not had experience before. You really threw me up on I looked down there. I got close to take pictures of one of your wound beds, and I realized very quickly that may have been guacamole, which I found later on but the fact that you put it there, it was funny because a lot of people was looking for dark things, and you had that light green in there just to simulate a little like gut biome, a little bit there. And immediately I saw that, because that is something I look really heavy for. That's a really determining factor, something that you can
forget sometimes that some people that track may not really have a strong hunting background or like that kind of knowledge either.
And anybody knows that's ever shot there, you can smell it, even when you're in the woods, even though there's not a lot of signs. So for me, of going through that and then having that many people sit there and look at something, examine it. I like how you run that forward and asked all the questions, because I was thinking like CSI Miami, and that's what I like to do personally as a hunter. And so I got to exercise some of that and see how I turned out at the end while doing the blood tracking. That was cool.
And I appreciate you bringing that up because we very intentionally did that and made it a little bit subtle because the point was, and there was one of them. I think it might have been the last one we looked at on the advanced segment. Nobody. It took a long time before somebody to recognize it in the wound bed. Everyone was staring. I don't see any blood. Oh, maybe this is a little bit of blood. Oh, is that hair? All the while they're poking around the simulated gut matter, which was very, to me, very distinct. And yes, guacamole mixed with some dark hummus makes, throw in some. Perfect. Throw in if down there Megan got me some acorns because that's a heavy diet. I busted up some acorns. Up here in the north we can mix in a little bit of corn. That is for those trying to simulate wound beds. There you go.
Did you hear me? I went down there to take the picture and I was like, "Hey, you got a chip?" And you looked.
Yes, you did. I do remember that. The dogs even liked it, just like in real life. A couple of dogs went up, and that guac smelled really good, and so the dog started licking it up, just like my meathead does occasionally on the track. But yeah, it was fun.
The clothespins, that was a big one for me, and then also I really liked how you did the multicolored hair. That's a very big signal to look for.
Yeah.
Especially
absolutely.
The arrow. We talked first year a lot about how the arrow looked, and tried to simulate what that was. And then kind of this time going back here on this event, it was more like the in-depth of that in the field, in place of a dog, which we were able to film with a body camera. And so you're going to get to see the whole track from the person's point of view. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it was fun. Megan, what would you add or comment or question?
Just to add to theirs, I didn't unfortunately get to see all of the outside demo because I was laying those tests that I did, but I was there for the beginning, and the cannon, as far as the way that scent travels, was really neat, I thought, and something that I hadn't really considered. I mean, I guess kind of, in the back of your mind, subconsciously you consider it, but not really as in-depthly as you pointed out in your demonstration, that the way that the cannon scattered.
Yeah.
When an arrow passes through a deer or, a bullet, whatever the case is, all of those scent particles, it's not singularly defined in a line. It does, have splatter and carries that little bit of scent particles, a long, wide, potentially, varying distance depending on the weather and how it entered the deer initially. So I thought that was really cool. And then how long it took all of us. So for context of everybody watching, there were 20 people in attendance for these demonstrations. And it took quite a while for us to find the initial bone fragments at the hit site when we were doing the hit site analysis demo.
Yeah.
And most of us are people, like Nikki was saying, some people don't come from a hunting background. Some of the people there are fairly new to tracking, but as far as I know, had been on tracks. And I mean, personally, I was kind of embarrassed myself that it took me as long as it did to see the bone fragments that were clearly there in the grass. So
I think
thought
everybody
that was really
thought that you were playing around, that it wasn't there because we were looking pretty hard. I even was.
Yeah, so it just kind of goes to testify to the fact that, even though we knew what we were looking for potentially, we knew that it was going to be there and we still overlooked it. Those are things that happen, in the real world on real tracks. There could be pieces of bone there that maybe we didn't see because we were in a rush or, just overlooked it, or it was in, an odd area. So I thought that was pretty eye-opening as far as myself personally, and a really good way to demonstrate that. I think you guys did an excellent job with that. And then as far as the inside classroom stuff you guys touched on a little bit earlier with the training lines, the redefining success on the training lines and on a track or a test that you did, Matt, I thought was really, again, mind opening, because the way that you broke down the difference in I think you called it a sexy track versus not. So
sexy line versus
I've used that in the past, and I'm going to be completely honest. Posting my mock lines or my tracks where you got a nice clean overlay, but there was no challenge for the dog. It's just a half moon shape or a U. But it might be 400 yards or maybe 1,200 yards, but there was still no kind of element of challenge that I was producing for my dogs. So the way that you broke down the redefining success with that, I think was really important for a lot of us here, especially people that are in the off season right now, and that's what we're doing is doing mock tracks and preparing for testing to really set it up in a way that challenges your dog and gives them the best advantage to be successful in those tests or on those mock tracks, and keep them interested and keep them guessing.
Yeah, that I appreciate that, Megan. That's one that I it just really resonates with me, and I'm relatively passionate about it because it's just my focus. It's been that was a paradigm shift for me when I changed the way I thought about it through what I've learned with from Kenny and Ethan and things here. It's like, man, yes, this all makes sense. And I embraced it. And now if I get that super sexy overlay, it's like, okay, that's boring. And if that's all you do, another thing that I didn't talk about, if all you're doing is these scent lines with no challenges, your dog, going to Ethan's presentation, the dog can get bored with that. I mean, they can follow a scent line. That's what they do. And after a while, it's like, here we go again, following this scent line again. Whoa, wait a minute, what? Where that? If they don't have to do anything about it, then I don't have to work, and it can get boring for them. Some dogs might like it, but yeah. So I appreciate that feedback. You going four-wheeling now, Megan?
Yeah, we have to go pick my daughter up from her softball game, but yeah, unfortunately, I've heard a lot of excellent things about Ethan's presentation, but I missed it, and I'm really sad about that. But necessary evil sometimes. That
well, yeah,
but I did hear really good things about it, and I am looking forward to seeing it in the future and getting some of that. My daughter actually commented that she learned a few things. Some of you guys that were there met my daughter Zoe.
Has we had Fred learn some stuff in Ethan's presentation?
Yeah, she did.
How to tell the people how old is Zoe? That's awesome.
Yeah, she was excited. So I think
how old is Zoe, Megan?
She was 10. So if she was in the chat telling me, well, this is what I learned, and it had to do with the alcohol and overeating stuff with the dogs. So that was something that she thought was important, because she knows, here in Oklahoma, we had a really good, solid team last year. The dog overheated. I think they were on a track down in Texas, and luckily they were able to, do some of those early medical interventions and get him to the vet. And she made a full recovery. But there was another gentleman that I know that wasn't the case for. So that type of stuff, I think, is, again, something that's really important to kind of keep in the back of your mind and know, about an emergency type situation, that anything can happen on any time that we leave the house to go back to you.
Oh, wait a minute. Matt Lord has entered the chat. Hi, Matt.
How's it going, guys?
Good, buddy. Thanks for joining. We're just kicking it around here. Shane and Nikki kind of shared some of the things that they liked, and Megan was sharing some of the things that she liked, and now that Matt Lord is here, so Matt Lord, you tested, and I got to tell you, buddy, and I'll have you do a short little 60-second bio about Matt and Elizabeth Lord and your tracking background. But I will tell you, I'm thrilled to death that I got to judge the test on the puppy that I fell in love with in Missouri last year, and a year later I got to test her in Oklahoma. That was awesome, buddy.
She was a little easier to control back then. So
She was easy to control back then. Well, Matt, your timing is perfect, man. So thank you, because I wanna get your thoughts on the. And all we're doing, Matt, we're just kicking it around, man. It's just a discussion, so we just all interact, and I'd really like to hear, if you're willing to share, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd recommend. What didn't we do that you wish we would have? What did we do that you're glad we did? And how can you apply some of that? Just whatever comes from your mind, man. But before you start talking about the event itself, tell us, give us the 60-second Matt Lord Southeastern Missouri blood tracking bio, buddy.
I mean, been doing this a couple years. I got my main dog, Bobby Ray. He's the one that I've been using for the last couple years. Ellie Mae's new to the mix. She just turned a year old, but she's coming along pretty good, and totally different, between tracking male and female. But both of them have progressed, and I love watching them work. So not a whole lot to it. Just couple years experience, and we've been several events all over, and learn from a lot of experienced trackers, and pick up bits and pieces here and there, and use a little bit of everything we pick up. So, but all in all, cool. I really enjoyed the event. I loved the field work where everybody got to go out and kind of work through the lines together. After the hunter interviews. I really enjoyed. I just caught a tidbit of what Megan was saying about kind of. I think she was on where you were talking about the sexy lines.
No, yeah.
I think we've all been there where we go out and do like a practice line, and we may not want to post pictures of it because we think it didn't go perfect. But after seeing that, if your dog's not struggling, they're not learning. So I enjoyed that. Yeah. Just like
There's that taxi line I was talking about.
But let me interject there, Matt, because I kind of talked about the event. Don't confuse struggling with systematic problem solving. There is such a thing as bad ugly, and I showed you one of my lines. It was a total mess. Yeah, that was ugly, and that wasn't productive. But just because your dog engages in problem solving where it should engage in problem solving, where you built into problems, that is not struggle, man. That is developing problem solving skills, and I love that stuff. I love that stuff. So I don't mean to hijack you, but boy,
no, I really liked that conversation, because I think every one of us has had that day where we're like, man, that looks terrible. I got to fix that, to where if the dog's fixing it, they're working it out, and the end result's what you want it to be, then I like that other people are facing the same challenges in training. We probably all have seen it once or twice. So,
yeah,
or more.
My philosophy is you want to see that ugly line, that redefined sexy line in practice where the dog is off. Because where do you want that super sexy overlay? There's two places. One of them is really not an overlay. You want to guess where they are? A test line. You want to see a super sexy overlay on a test line, and you want to see a super sexy overlay, or at least a straight super sexy definitive line in the field on a real recovery, on a real track. You don't get an overlay because you don't know where the deer's track is, but that's when you want to see those straight lines and those sexy overlays. In practice, I want to see those problem solving spaghetti platters and stuff like that where they should be on that test line. So when it comes time to play the game, they can do it without those spaghetti noodles. That's just my philosophy. And you can see I get passionate about it because here I go again. But
ain't nothing wrong with that.
I appreciate that, man. So what I should do is kind of, for those listening, is kind of outline the format of what we did, because we've talked about you both talked about when we were in the field, and then Matt, you just mentioned the hunter interview. So what we did was for those listening along here is the format we used. Like I said, Oklahoma was our pilot program, our inaugural launch of this format. We'll continue to tweak it and evolve it as we go to make it as good as it can be. But so what we did is we created. There were 3 segments to the morning sessions, I guess we'll call them. One was, and they were progressively more difficult with increasingly challenging setups in the line and challenging scenarios, if you will. So what we did is Ethan and I developed a shot scenario that we discussed. We went out and we created Ethan laid a short line, and I created a shot site in the wound bed that replicated that we might see on the shot scenario that we created. Okay. Then we started in the classroom. We role played as hunters. You guys were all the trackers, and we conducted a hunter interview right there based on the shot scenario that we created. We let you guys ask all the questions. From there, when everybody was done asking questions and giving their recommendations on what they thought it was and how long we should wait, and all of the things we talk about, we then went out to the hit site as a group, and we analyzed the hit site. Someone would then take their dog, a volunteer would take their dog and run the line. We would come to a feature in that line. Perhaps it was a turn. And, Ethan basically took over at this point, was talking about the dog behavior and what the dog was doing. So we could all see it. We could talk through it. Then we get to the wound bed. We'd all stop. We'd analyze the wound bed and see what we thought of the wound bed based on the scenario. After we analyzed the shot site, and it was just a buildup of information. We were collecting information as we go, from the hunter's account all the way through the evidence that we could collect through the track. And then we would see how the evidence would stack up or contradict to what the hunter said, and we could just move through. And then at the end, we would all conclude what we thought we had, and then we would reveal, okay, here, that you guys were right. There it is. Yeah, we're all gathered around there, looking at a wound bed or a hit site. I don't know which one that is, Shane, but yeah,
the wound bed.
The wound bed. But that was kind of the format, and we did that in 3 segments. The one was very simple. The second one was a little more complex, and the third one was longer and much more complex and more wound beds and stuff like that. So that was the context. So when Matt talks about the interview, that's just kind of how it flowed. So it was cool, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And we'll continue to evolve that and see what right does look like there. To not what right looks like, but see how we can make it even better.
Yeah, and watching somebody else work their dog at the same time. I enjoy watching other people work their dogs, and that's not something every event gives you the opportunity to do. So,
yeah. So on this one, we had Hayden run his dog. It was a Hanoverian, and then we had Bill run his dog, which was a Llewellyn setter, and then we had Jerry run his dog, which is there you go. There's Bill and his dog. Yep, and I can't remember his dog, Topper. But then we had Jerry run his Teckle on the complex line. So it was really cool. I mean, it was pretty neat, So yeah, there's another. Oh yeah, there's Matt with Ellie Mae in his started certification. So that's cool.
It's nice to get to see different kinds of dogs and the ways that they work too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's
Here's Ethan. Yeah, those pictures are going to be cool. Yeah, but what did we have? We had, because Shane, you guys have you run a border collie. Bill runs a Llewellyn Shepherd. Megan, you have bloodhounds. Jerry has a Teckle. Was there?
Kate had bloodhounds and what was that?
Hanoverian.
Hanoverian, yeah. There's
And Bavarians.
Yep.
And then Carolyn ran the Golden Gabriel.
Golden.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The golden. And then we had a couple Jack Terriers there too.
Yeah. And the Lab Baylor.
Yep. AP's Lab. Yep. Yeah, man. So that was cool. What's that, Megan?
We got to film the track on this little girl right here. What was her name again?
Her name's Marley.
Marley. Okay, this
She's my favorite dog
star
ever.
Yeah, Marley was fun to watch.
Brian, she's second to Marley in my heart. Marley's a big part of the reason why I always wanted a Teckle, and it just didn't work out that I got one, and then I got bloodhounds. But she has a special place in my heart. She's an excellent representative for Oklahoma. She finds a lot of deer, and
She's a good old girl.
a lot. I mean, hundreds of deer. So she's my favorite. I'm so glad they came.
Yeah, there was Hayden in the line. So, Matt, anything else about the seminar itself you'd like to share? Any of the content and any of that stuff before because I do want to talk about testing. You guys, all three of you tested, and I judged two of you. I judged two of you. But anything you'd like to share, or either one of you, Shane or Nikki, you would like to share, or even Megan, you'd like to share more about the seminar piece before we get into the testing?
When Ethan got into the reinforcing, giving them the something at the end that kept their drive alive, and just making sure that they're excited about the end in order to keep them going throughout. And we talked about maybe switching things up to keep their excitement level as a whole. Now, I have one dog that does it because he just wants you to tell him he's a good boy and he did a good job. He could care less about anything else.
Yeah.
I got another one. You saw her at the end of that line. She could care less about that hide unless you had it. If it was just sitting there, she wanted nothing to do with it. So,
what does Ellie Mae do on a real deer, Matt?
She, to be honest, she wants nothing to do with it once she finds it.
Neither does mine. She don't care.
Yeah, she just finds it, and then she's good. She doesn't want to go anywhere near it. She just knows that she did what she was supposed to do, and sometimes I try getting her to go near it. She's not about it. And then, Bobby Ray.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My other one just wants to go nose to nose and just bark in its face for 30 minutes if you'd let him. So,
yeah, Ruby's freaked out. If there's a dead deer and you grab it, and move its head, that freaks her out. She wants no part of it. But yeah, it's the I think it's just their drive to find this thing, as Ethan puts it, that is the satisfaction for the bloodhounds. At least my bloodhound, because she might lick a wound, she might chew fat if there's a little bit or some gut matter. But
my dog buries it.
Your dog buries it. Yeah, I heard about that. And
I remember reading that. Yeah.
He said, "What does she usually do when she gets to the deer?" And I said, "She buries it." And I don't think he fully understood until my test was done, and she took her hide and she went and buried it like a bobcat. Not like dig a hole. Like she the brush with her nose,
cover it up with
and covers it. But Creole, he doesn't. He's more like what Matt was saying. He just he doesn't care. He's on to the next one. Like he'll find it and just keep on trucking, looking for something else to smell. So it's interesting the different reactions that they have. And that was something during Ethan's presentation with Hayden's dog in the beginning there. I think a lot of people probably pulled information from that. Not to get off topic, and go back to the seminar, but I did want to mention that
go ahead, Megan. Go ahead.
The reward side with our dogs and how to engage that process. I think that the way that he expressed that and laid it out to everybody, gave a new perspective, because even, like I said, he asked, is it a big event? Is it a little event? So I think that was something that was pretty unique that I hadn't really considered before, because my dogs, they're not driven by that. So Creole, he gets his treat and he's happy, and Briar, I let her bury it. But other than that, there's not really a huge celebration. So that's probably something that I personally should try and work on in the field more.
Yeah, I agree. I need to do the same.
I'm trying to get. I see what's going on here. Yeah, Shane and Nikki's phone died, so I got to get back. I got to get Shane the link, so bear with me here as I look to get him the link. Oh no, skip for now. Hi Rizzo, hi baby. Where's Shane? There he is. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, awkward pause. Yeah, because I definitely want to. Typical bloodhound, Kenny says, Megan. Yeah, and Matt, the 3 bloodhound people here talking about, their. Megan, did you see Kenny's comment about a tackle? Uh-oh. I've locked up everybody here. There you are. You there, Megan?
I'm here.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you are. I think you guys were. Megan, did you see Kenny's comment about a tackle? Can't hear you now, Megan. You're muted.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Okay, Shane's back.
Miss Pearl. Megan, if you want to tech, I've got you covered.
Yeah.
Completely.
So
that guy's a battery died.
Which dog is the typical bloodhound, Kenny? Which one of the 5 were you referring to there?
Yeah.
That's funny. Heck yeah. I'm down.
There you go, Megan. Yeah, tackle now. So cool. Yeah, no problem, Shane. Glad you guys were able to jump back on, because I would like to get into testing now, if you guys don't mind. Unless you have anything else you'd like to share, or any other direction you'd like to go with the conversation. But I really would like to hear your thoughts on the testing. Share your experience. Did you learn anything? Really that you could take away, and are you inspired to look at the next level? So everybody that tested was a starter level test. We didn't have any season, and certainly no finish level test. But I'm interested in what you guys thought. Matt, you want to start, since you just joined us? You want to share your testing experience and your thoughts and all of that?
My first thought is that was the worst terrain I've ever tested in. But it's a good time.
So hold on. You had some of the best, because you didn't have the southern death vines. You just had thick cedars.
Well, there was a little bit of vine, but Matt wasn't on yet when we were discussing the terrain issues at the beginning of the live. But
I think Scott probably had the best. I mean, it wasn't.
Probably had one of the better ones as far as user friendliness. So.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, buddy.
I guess everybody else must have had some fun too then. Not a lot to say about it. I didn't run any kind of electronic or anything, so I really didn't know where I was at all. It kind of just turned into trust the dog and let her go. The one moment in the test, and I know you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that I did second guess her. She pretty much looked at me like I was stupid and went back to what she was supposed to be doing. And then my leash work was terrible, but it's because it was so thick I couldn't really hold it the way I like to. But it was a perfect example of a dummy at the end of the lead and a dog running a good test. So,
and to me, that's a perfect example of what a good line looks like. Is you didn't let yourself that one moment there that worked out fine. you just let the dog do the dog thing, which is really what you should do. You had a good read on her. You second guessed yourself because you weren't expecting a lightning bolt line, so you were expecting
that's exactly,
line, and you got a lightning bolt, and that so that wasn't that. That certainly wasn't dog, and that was just you trying to, outsmart the system a little bit, which we all do. Like, okay, I know how these lines go, and I know that's probably going to end over there or whatever. No, sometimes that doesn't happen. But I will tell you this, I want to comment too that, you mentioned horrible line handling. I don't know if that was horrible because of the conditions that you had to track through. You couldn't let all 30 feet of that be out there. It'd have been, I was making note of it. It's like, okay, he's choking up. I'm at least gonna, talk about that a little bit. But I no sooner thought that, and you turn around and says, hey man, I'm choking up more than I normally would just because of this trend. Like, okay, he already acknowledges it. So there really wasn't much to say. It was thick and entangled. It was unpleasant to track on lead. It was almost equivalent to us Northerners tracking in a cornfield on lead. That is an utter disaster, and we despise it with every ounce of our souls up here. I hate cornfields off lead just because they do weird things with scent and it's hard. But you do it on lead and it just compounds it. So you guys ran a very good line. And at one point we were talking about, it was the second 90. It was the second 90. It was the 90 turned right.
Yeah, I'm bad about trying to picture a line in my head, and I was not expecting what that looked like at the end at all. So yeah.
Ellie Mae, she hit the 90. She did what dogs do. She overran a little bit. She circled around 3-4 times, problem solved it, figured it out, and was marching her way down the right way. And then you called her back because you saw a spot of blood. You called her back. You put her on the blood. She said, yeah, Dad, I know. Here, just follow me. And it was all over from there. Just marched right to the hide. And it was just reasonably uneventful, which is just what you want. If you work hard and prepare, just a nice line, letting the dog do what the dog does. It was a lot of fun, man. I enjoyed judging it. Go ahead.
The other thing that you pointed out, and that was my knot at the end of my line. I had that knot on my lead to hold on to, and every time it got stuck, it was on my knot that I have in my. So, I guess I need to get rid of that.
Yeah. I'm not a fan, but I understand why it's there, and because Bobby Ray's a bulldozer, and you need to stop him.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about this. I talked about this a lot, and Shane, we'll talk about it more. We'll after we go offline here. Like I said, we'll spend some more time talking. And yep. But just the use of electronics. Now you have a Garmin system, but you don't use it. And I think everybody I judged, a good share of I had 4 tests. Megan was on 3 of them with me. She wasn't on yours. I think all of them we had some talk about using the Garmin or using electronics to help. Okay, Kenny. Yeah, you were. So Kenny judged Bobby Ray in Iowa year before last. Then good.
Yeah.
But using those electronics, and it's for lots of, even though you're on lead, and I'm just going to get on my stump a little bit here as I shoo a bug off my monitor, but even on lead, it can be so useful for a couple of things. One, if your dog gets loose, you know where it is. It's not a big deal. You know where the dog is, and you don't have to panic. You can just say, oh, he's over there, and you can go get him if he doesn't or she doesn't have good recall yet. And what that does is it brings a sense of calm and relax. It allows you to take the knot out of that lead, because if he slips through, it's not a big deal. And then it also allows you to have some comfort in those problem-solving moments, to let that lead down, let it slither around instead of thump and bump around until it works it out. Then you can go pick it up and walk through it. So, that's just in the line handling, in the sense of being comfortable in being at peace, knowing that you're not going to lose your dog. There's a whole bunch of value in that. The next thing is, it becomes a real tool in terms of helping you solve the line, because there were more than one time where we did a callback, and those who were not using the electronics kind of got disoriented and lost some spatial awareness on where they were and weren't sure where to go back. So even on lead, even if that darn Garmin stays in your pocket or dangling from your bandolier or something most of the time, you can always pick it up when the dog, something goes funny. You can now pick it up and say, okay, everything, I was tracking a straight line here, and at this point it went haywire. But I don't know where that was. It's no problem. You just look at the line, you can circle back around and reacquire where the dog was tracking in a straight line. And so it is a very legitimate, useful tool that way for spatial awareness and understanding where you were, what right probably looked. Straight lines are a good thing in a tracking world. If your dog is trained and critter broke and all of those things. But generally speaking, straight lines are a good thing. If you can get your dog back to where the straight line was, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. So those are the two elements of the electronics. I keep saying Garmin, but I'll just say electronics in case you use a different brand. But I'm a humongous Garmin fan. So electronics is huge, even on lead. So
that was something that like you said, we talked about that during the Saturday morning when we were kind of letting everybody get settled in before the seminar stuff actually got started. But as a judge, that was something that I noticed on pretty much every line that we did, even the two that I did on Saturday. And that's something that really works to your advantage. So we talked about it Saturday, but just even put a waypoint if you see something, just so you have that reference point. And if you don't have a Garmin or some type of tracking system, if you've got Google Maps on your phone, it's pretty easy to drop a pin with that, or using Onyx or Stand or anything, any type of help that you can give yourself. And like Kenny said, it could be once you get used to using it and really familiar with it, it could actually help you find a deer that you may not otherwise think you could find. It, if you're just able to look at the terrain and see a pattern developing in your track, it
That's
really
right.
can make a difference.
I tell you what, I was still on lead, and Shane and Nikki, I want to get to your thoughts and inputs about your test too, Shane. But I want to share, since we're on the topic, Megan, you just made me think of one. Share one of my stories when I was still on lead, and it wasn't in Garmin. I had my sport dog at that time, and how I was able to use it, and I almost it saved me from leaving a deer in the woods. Let me put it that way. And this is what I mean. We were tracking, things were fine, and for a while. Then I just didn't think that the dog was acting, I thought, silly and just dumb. It wasn't, this is useless. We're not going. I said, look, and I was about ready to call it. I called the hunter. I said, look, let's look at this track. Look, this is what's going on. I go, well, wait a minute. We are moving in a direction. It wasn't super pretty, but we were progressing in what I call, we were spiraling our way in a direction. So that caused me to go, whoa, hold on, because I was ready to pack it up. I go, hold on. Let's just see what happens here. 10 minutes later, we're standing over his deer, and it wasn't that far away. I don't even know if it was 10 minutes. So again, Megan, to your point, that is so true. Especially if you, it's so easy to get disoriented when you're on a lead, when you're playing, as Ethan says, chief untangling officer. You're just constantly untangling this lead. If it's in the hellscape that we had to lay lines in, and then throw it at night. Boy, you talk about instantly. At least for me, I instantly lose it. So I rely on that very heavily, so you can see that, hey, we are moving in a direction. It may not be the prettiest thing, but we are consistently progressing in a single direction. That's a good thing, and you can let yourself go. So yeah, I'm glad you said that, Megan, because my electronics saved me on leaving a deer in the woods. Just because I happened to look at it and was going to show the hunter why we need to stop tracking, and we realized, no, we need to keep tracking. So, and that doesn't have to be a Garmin system. You're right, Megan. It could be your dog tracks or your Onyx.
Yeah, I use dog tracks a lot too. So,
yeah, but I'm a humongous Garmin fan. You can do so much with it.
Anything you have at your disposal. I mean, I went 2 years without any type of, GPS system. And then I went to a Pathfinder, which we discussed a little bit last year on one of the lives. And I really liked the Pathfinder. And now I have a Garmin. I've been using that since June. And it has significantly increased, like what Kenny was saying, my ability to read, maps and start seeing kind of patterns develop. And it's also nice, with the conveniences it has, like the SOS and text messaging and stuff like that I have on my 300i. So anyway, I'm not a sales pitch. This is not an endorsement. I'm not a paid endorsee of Garmin.
Sponsor.
I did want to touch on something that Matt said real quick about his test. I was part of laying that line, and I don't know what type of terrain you normally track in, being in Missouri. Matt said that he had noticed that you were kind of choking up on your line a little bit. And being from Oklahoma, if I remember correctly, the test that you had a lot of small saplings that were like anywhere from a half inch to an inch and a half in the beginning. And then it moved into a bunch of real thick cedar trees that had real low lying branches. And then there was a little bit of an open spot where you feel like, okay, maybe I'll have a breather. And then it went right back into the cedar trees. And those types of situations, from my experience, because we do track in that a lot, I think, without seeing your test, obviously I'm just speculating, but going on a shorter line is probably your best bet in situations like that. Because if you get too much out there, then the dogs, like Creole, for instance, my male, he will circle all of those little trees. And then I've got 40 foot of line wrapped around 8 different trees, so It can get, like Matt was saying, cheap untangler, it'll be to the point where we're both completely stuck just because we're sitting there with the, such thick foliage, literally just unwrapping things. So for what Matt said, you handled that really well. And again, I apologize about the terrain, but from what I heard, you guys did excellent. So congratulations for that.
It was a good time. So I liked the challenge.
Yeah, you did great. Get on the website and understand and take a look at what that season line looks like. And do you have a season for Bobby Ray or just started for both?
No, he has his season and his 2 as well.
Yeah.
So
Ellie Mae, I'm quite confident could do a season right now, Bobby. Or I mean, Matt. I was thinking Bobby Ray. I bet she could. Yeah.
What always gets her is she takes her sweet time. So you just got to get her in that time limit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She could solve it though, I'm certain. So Shane, now Nikki, you didn't go on the test. We tried to get you, but you wouldn't do it. You were afraid you were going to bring bad nervous energy, so you didn't go.
I didn't go.
So
That, and I saw everybody coming back bloody and said, maybe I'll just hang here.
yeah,
Actually,
maybe I discouraged some people from going along. Yeah, I will tell you what, Shane. I think I'm such a jerk. I told you, I says, man, your line sucks. I didn't.
And right off the bat, too, I'm getting there. I'm all excited. I'm already nervous. And he's like, yeah, your line sucks.
What do you mean by that? Wait, what do you mean?
I went to Nikki first thing. And I was like, what do you think he meant by that?
I think he means
I think I clarified, and I felt bad as soon as I said it, but it was just that there were a lot of wait a minute lines on your
area. So it was
But
like
I'm also the guy that kills the biggest deer in the positions that nobody else
and
would
the
think they're there.
thickest, nastiest crap
So,
ever.
I'm the guy that will go the extra mile. It's okay.
I certainly believe it because I'm watching you zip around in them freaking, look like some Vietnamese torture freaking course or something.
You just saw.
And I'm getting tangled up, cussing at the same damn vines that caught me up when we laid the line. I don't know how you got through like you did.
I know what you meant by hard on my track, so I have a lot to say, like the things that I took away from it. First of all, my track was started with kind of the wind at our side, and it continually got worse as we turned. Mine was a U; it wasn't a lightning bolt. It was two left turns.
Yep.
And so I get up and I was ready for the 100 questions. I was ready to do the interviews because I probably practice on that the most, because that's something that I can do very quickly and think about. And it's important to ask the right questions so you know what tracks you're on and what you're doing. And if it's worth the actual drive, there's a lot of times you can figure out that this is probably not a great track to go on and it wastes everybody's time and only probably they're probably going to be mad that you didn't find it either, So it's good to know the information. So I was prepared for that. I brung Topper up to the line as soon as I acquired the target. Then I kind of like stepped back and then gave him room to breathe. We proceeded forward, and everything was fine. Everything was showing good. On the first 90-degree turn to the left, I got the speed at which Topper I wanted him, which was like a 1.0. The whole track was on my tractive said it was like at a 1 mile per hour track speed, which was good. I'm glad because when I first started with him, he was so excited and I was probably amping him up a little bit and it would go a little fast. So I got the speed just right. But once we made that first left-hand turn, Topper was probably all in scent at that first left turn and he took me following that, and I could tell that he was doing these level changes, and I was thinking about turning around right before you said something like, hey, that was my first call back. And then as I was going back, Topper's like going back. I'm like, hey, let's go back up here. And he's like running, and all of a sudden he just did this huge snap to the right and acquired the line on a place that I didn't know where the line was, but I could tell where it was after that.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh yeah, you said something to that effect. And then he followed around and he went around this little cedar tree dale and I stopped him at one point in time and I broke his concentration. And when he went back, he was on the line and he was semi going to the left, but he went ahead and took the right because it was directly downwind. And then we went downwind. That was my second call back. And on the way back, he did that head snap again and turned to the left, which I thought was totally plausible. There was my lightning bolt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I chose to allow him to go because of how fast the head snap was. But I did feel like it was up there where we were, and I wanted to take him back there, but I went ahead and took that one. That was our third call back, and that was where I made a judgment call where I should have went back to where I know that was because I wasn't for sure, and he had a lot of level changes. You told me, I'm sorry, unfortunately, you have failed the test, but would you like to continue? And I was like, heck yeah, we're out here already. And that's where I realized you said the portion of my journey sucked because after that moment, it felt like I had been crawling for 25 to 35% of the track. And I was on my hands and knees and Topper was right on it. And then I started to notice where the actual target was because Topper wanted to take me to the right one more time and he was acquiring that straight downwind of where the target was. He kept wanting to move me over. And so being that I'm new and I'm trusting my dog, and I was nervous anyway, I was just like, do whatever needs to be done. Topper was do his own thing, and if he doesn't complete this, it just means we need to work on it more. So it's all a learning experience. So
and it was a great learning experience for him because he does have a habit of cutting corners and like that. You got to see that in action, and then he also wants to wind a little bit. So now you kind of know how much work and what work we need to put in to get him there.
We worked, the main thing I work on with Topper is keeping his nose to the ground, and I've got him doing it so well that he'll look like he's crawling like a cat when he's on it. And so that's my signal: tell low, cat crawl, like panther like kind of deal, and he will stay on that consistent. Yeah. And as long as we got the wind in our face sometimes, like I can really have the confidence, but my fear and my weakness is downwind tracks. So I got to experience exactly what James and all the other people said that you would experience. You can't be in the nose of the wind. You got to learn how to get these corners done and slow the dog down and allow him time to acquire and give you the signal to go. And so I think I should have took a little bit slower pace and not even less than a mile an hour on some of those passes. But something that I learned in the end is he knew where it was at the whole daggum time. I think you said that like 3 or 4 times because he was reacquiring himself at the back side of it when the wind was in his face, and I was crawling hands and knees, and I finally was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't. And I stood up and I got up on my knee and I look at Topper and he's just sitting in front of me at like 20 yards and he's just looking at me and he's like,
right here.
Well, he actually walked by me, come back towards me. Y'all were behind me. And he come back towards me and he went over to my left and he sat there and he just sit on his haunches. And I'm thinking, oh, he's tired because he just got cut up in some briars. And then you popped out and you were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. He just stopped and came back. That's because he went past the scent and he reacquired himself and he was sitting right by and I was late on my praise and my reward, but it just goes to show, he was very, very, he does have a lot of telltales as a border collie. It's really personable type personality, he
doesn't like to push through those briars and thickets. So that was a good learning.
Yeah, he does not. He knows he can get caught in there real bad, so he avoids very thick briars sometimes, which can get us off. And he knows he can get us back on, but I often try to like go through there.
Yeah, and Kenny made a comment I want to touch on because Kenny, I'm glad you did that because I was going to mention it too. But so talking about when I said, hey man, what? Because I think I asked you right at the end. I says, why did you stop him? He says, I don't know. He just stopped. I go, okay. I said, and it was probably 20 yards or so, maybe 15 from the. Hold on. You little runt, knock it off. What are you doing?
Yeah, I believe the pelt was about 11 yards away from me, and it was back to my shoulder a little bit, and there was an orange little cord that you had tied onto the tree, and I acquired it when I was looking past Topper, just right beside it.
Yeah, because I said, he said, I don't know, we just stopped. He stared at us. Well, what do you think he's looking at?
Well, I was just trying to read him. He was throwing me off. He was like, wait a second, this is not right. And then, positioned himself.
I do think he knew where the line was a lot. I can't say for sure what took him on those journeys that got your 3 callbacks. I don't know for sure.
They were all lower lying areas, so the actual trail from what you showed me afterwards, they were all in higher positions, and we had the wind at our back, and they were lower lying areas. So for him, I could only see the scent getting stronger the lower down the valley he went, especially at the age of the track, because mine was like the last one. So I imagine that whole valley was just.
Yeah, yours was when we got to it, we were at the outer limits of the test standard at 5.5 hours, but still in essence in the tracking world, a white hot line. I mean,
yeah, that's super fresh. It may have been easier, like you said, if we had waited, 24 hours. That one blew my mind in the class of how the scent, the prominent scent that you're looking for can still be prominent, after the age, but some of the new additions to it can then go away to better show what the original scent was,
Yeah, scent cone gets a little smaller, and then the the scent's can be strongest at the source, but it also has plenty of time to drift. But Kenny made a comment here based on when you said, you've been working to have, keep her nose to the ground, and one thing to just think about, Shane, is scent is dynamic and scent moves, and different dogs have different trailing, styles.
Yeah.
And I don't know what a border collie's trailing style is, but we know that they're a working breed who work largely by sight, right? So they're up and looking. You heard Ethan talk about that a lot this weekend. He talked about it when Bill was running his Llewellyn out there. That breed just tends to, do a lot of sight work. Just be mindful, be thinking about, maybe that scent suspended up here a little bit, and if just because its head is up, if the dog is moving, that's why when you're running your lines, mark them. Yeah. Blind tracks are fine, but when you're training and learning your dog, mark the crap out of those lines so you know when it's on and when it's off, and if the dog is advancing in the right direction, but his head is up a little bit, and it's on the line, or in perhaps in the second, let it be. If
we were going to start applying rewards, like some of the dried liver and stuff, along the actual trail, just so that I could get in Topper's head that there might be a bonus if you stay close enough to the line. You know what I mean? Trying little different things to get him out of that. One thing that we had to do was we started them when they were babies. When we first rescued, is I would, use a little bit of blood, and then I would hide a little piece of hair or something like that from one of the hides that I killed earlier. And we just started like that. And so we've got his mind thinking about the ground, but there's a lot of influence of natural things that want to come out, and we're just working through those.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. But yeah, just be mindful and just be thoughtful about that. And probably one of the hardest things, or probably one of the things that will be incredibly frustrating for you, is if you try to force a dog to trail in a way that is not conducive to them. Not how the dog wants to trail. Like this little runt right here, I'm used to my bloodhound. They are nose to the ground. That's just what they do. They're hounds. I love it. They're easy to read. This little shit right here, based on all accounts and the very little bit of scent work I did, she ain't gonna be that way. Her head's gonna be up, and I think she's gonna be screaming down the trail, and it's gonna be an adjustment for me. And I will make no effort to try to change it, because if the natural instinct is to trail differently, I would encourage you to consider learning your dog's tendencies and adapting your approach to her tendencies, as opposed to make the dog, in this context anyway, there are times where you need to make the dog do what you want it to do.
Right.
Training style, I don't know if that's really one of them. My opinion. Again, this is my philosophy. If her tendency, or Topper's tendency, is to work head up, but is in order and is accurate, you might be.
We can find deer, but it's sometimes not in a logical way.
But that will come with experience, though, too. You said this is only her second year, right?
Yeah.
His second year. Both of them. They're both brother and sister. But we have a male and female, both brother and sister. Topper and Sissy are our dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, so scent isn't always tight to the line. Scent is chaos in motion, and he's right, it moves. And that's some of what I was trying to kind of depict in my presentation. I don't care if my dog drifts the line. Some people want that line straddler. I'm not worried about it, as long as the dog uses the tools it needs to get to the end of the line. And it's done in some kind of organized way. If it's just going all over the place and you're expending a lot of energy and it's chaotic, I don't want that. But if it's going to drift the line, I don't care. If it's going to create pom-poms at the peak of the V until it works it out. I really don't care. I'm just that's why I like to just stand back and see what the dog wants to do and understand the dog's natural tendencies. That way now I can learn what the dog wants to do, and now I know how to apply that in the field. Like, oh, I don't panic. I know what she's doing here. Pretty soon she's gonna line out, you know.
I can be honest that since we've been training and stuff, it's really we're not working on our dogs, you know, to train them in different ways to do different things as much as you would think. It's really just training ourselves here because, I mean, even Megan knows, she's done a track with me before. You talking about holding back a dog? My gosh, I've done it. She's watched me just fell, you know, so close. And she even told me afterwards, she's like, you know, had you not done this, he probably would have been all right, you know. And it's true because they do things in the right fashion. I just prefer that they stay within 40 yards of the line. That's my biggest deal. How they do that and their style, I want those things to come out because that makes them unique. But I will say that doing these things in different ways and the way you set them up and how they change from each one way or another, you're never going to be able to create the perfect scenario, but there's a lot of options to do to prepare you and your dog for any situation that might come up, you know.
Like, I don't want to be micromanaged. So, like, as long as you're doing the task that you're supposed to be doing, okay.
That's why I went with the dog and didn't try to pull back, you know, because I've put my own thought too much into it as a hunter and thinking I know better than my dog and I should be trusting my dog a lot, but I should know to read the signals when I should be a great helper in guiding the dog to where it needs to go.
And
I feel like that's why like your practice tracks are so important. Is you're not just training the dog to track, but you're training yourself to trust your dog, because if you see your dog do it enough in practice, then you trust them when it comes time just to make the right decision, because my dog's going to be smarter than me every time I go out there. I guarantee that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a lonely feeling if you don't have something to trust when you're out there and somebody's like, find my deer, and you're like, I have no idea what your property even looks like, let alone, you know, where the deer's at. So
right.
You have to have a lot of trust.
Yeah, well, you do. And trust comes in time, and trust only comes by time on task. By doing these things that we talked about in learning your dog and getting your dog the experience to problem solve and understanding that, you know, what's a waste of energy and what produces results, you know, in terms of the, you know, the scent combinations and shit, like stuff like that. But, you know, one thing I want to share a little story, Shane, because on the trust your dog thing, because I was there going into our second year. My God, you got to try, because I called her off. I left deer in the woods by calling her off, you know, our first year, and it was horrible, and all of the things that every tracker goes through when they're first starting out. So I went into the second year. By God, I'm going to trust this dog, and that's just what I'm going to do, and I'm going to trust this dog. So you know what I did? I blindly trusted this dog, and you know, we're tracking away and she goes off this way and I'm trusting this dog and she's just marching away and I'm trusting this dog all the way to the road. And I get on the radio and says, hey guys, I'm all the way to the road. And they go, yeah, we're right here standing over the deer. I'm like, oh, okay. So the dog went straight. The deer took a left turn down the corn row and was dead 20 yards. And I'm just following along like a big, dumb, happy, trusted my dog, because that's what you're supposed to do, like a big idiot. And, you know, so that comes with time, and it's learning the dog. And sometimes just following the dog, particularly a young dog, is a validation that it's doing what you want it to do.
Yeah.
So, and especially a bloodhound who's good a freaking trail. It doesn't matter whether your deer's dead or not. Matt can probably attest to this. If the deer's not dead, they're going to find something and they're going to trail something. It won't look like trailing a dead deer, but by God, they're going to follow something somewhere. Do you agree with that, Megan?
I agree to that with Creole. Briar doesn't. She doesn't really go off on adventures as much, but Creole for sure. If He's always looking for something, 100% of the time. Always. Briar is a little bit more chill, but Creole goes all day. You know, we've got
Brew won't if it's dead or she likes the line. If she don't like the line, her sense not there. She's fine. What about you, Matt? What did Bobby Ray and Ellie Mae do?
Bobby Ray's gotten pretty good on once he knows it's not dead, you know, calming down a bit. But if on the way back we cross live deer or something, he's like, I'm already out here anyway, so let's go after this.
So let's follow.
He can be called off pretty good. Ellie Mae, when we hit the woods, she's just looking for something. She knows what she's supposed to look for, but if it's not there, then we're just gonna mosey along and see what else we can find.
Yeah, and I do have to qualify. I was a little bit dramatic in my statement. Brew was going to follow something no matter what when she was younger. Now that she's older, a little more mature, she doesn't do that as much. But you know, when she was younger, she was going to find something to follow, and that's what she was doing. It was a pain. But Shane, Michael Beck says, have you unhooked her on a training line to watch her work naturally without you being attached to her? Have you run her off lead during training lines?
I don't think we've ever done an off lead train just because it's not legal to do it here in Oklahoma. So we never thought about just seeing how they would behave on a line off lead, but it's a good thought.
And it'd be hard
I
for
would
me to lose
encourage you
it.
to do it only if you're comfortable doing it, and only if she has very good recall. And
we have great callback with the dogs. They
if
do
she has great
listen very
callback,
well.
try it. Do you have a GPS collar?
I said I've got two. I've got a tractive tracker and a Garmin. So
tractive. I have
we
a
won't lose
tractive too.
them.
Yeah, but put the GPS on. I would encourage you to try it. I have no idea what her range will be. I don't know if she's be a field rocket or she'll stay tight, but I'd encourage you to try it, particularly if you have a Garmin and you can watch her. If she gets out of sight, you can see what she's doing in relation to that line. If you use the Garmin delay line, but I think there's such value in that, and just letting just detach yourself and see what the dog wants to do without you know, maybe
probably get one of those pretty lines you were talking about for the first time by just Jesus take the wheel kind of thing. Just
maybe, but then you learn something, right? You can still hook her back up, but now you know, and you can see what she really wants to do, uninhibited in terms of her problem solving and trailing style. That will reveal her trailing style, her natural trailing style pretty quickly.
Yeah, we've been trying to learn a lot of things because Sissy, her whole life exists around a ball. She will do anything for a ball until you take her tracking, and she don't want nothing to do with it.
She just wants to win.
She just wants to win and wants to find it, and she knows that there's a great reward, you know, at the end. And she's probably the most methodical of the two.
But she wants to go fast.
She wants to go a little fast, and then Topper. He just loves everything about deer. Okay, so he doesn't do too bad with the distractions and stuff. We had a big snake on the event that came out.
Bring that up.
And I got video of it, guys.
He's a monster.
A monster.
That's what I was trying to ask earlier is if you had that video or a photo or something you could share. I think, to my knowledge, you were the only one that actually ran into a snake on your test line.
No, there was another one. There was another. I don't know if it was a JP or somebody had another snake. But you guys have no idea how close the blood on my arm would have become terribly insignificant in relation to what would have happened to me had I seen that goddamn pit viper anaconda that you described.
It wasn't a pit viper.
It was enough. It was big enough. I don't care.
It was the biggest king snake I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of kings.
Boy.
Yep.
I don't know. I would have been dead, and somebody would have been doing CPR. And that little first aid kit, Megan, which is very nice, by the way, would not have done the trick. I would have
got a defibrillator in there.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now.
You have them on Amazon that have defibrillators.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They're pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie.
That snake was as big as your forearm, you said, 7 foot long or whatever, and standing
know.
up.
I could have
Right?
held that thing up above my head and he would have touched the ground. I kid
And
you
it
not.
was
But you'll
standing
see
up,
it on.
ready to bite your face off, wasn't it?
Yeah, when I first saw it, it looked like a log that was peering up, and it was like coming out of the grasses like this, and my dog was like right here, and Topper jumped back, and then it kind of ran, and then he kind of like tried to chase it for a second. I said no,
No,
and then he just.
it kind of
I don't
slid
know that
there.
they've ever seen a
Kind of
snake
slid
before.
Yeah,
there.
I've never ran into a snake.
Seen a snake.
The one thing I was thinking when we were all tracking, though, there was an odd amount of turtles that was everywhere, and that's
I saw two.
that's Sissy's
Yeah.
kryptonite. Let me tell you, she'll track with a turtle in her mouth.
That's
She'll
funny.
carry them with her.
While still tracking, that's hilarious. I saw 2 turtles. All right, Rizzo, get down. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't see that snake. I would never go back to Oklahoma if I saw that thing.
Well,
Distractions were on point for the testing.
that's for sure.
Wrote that down bad.
They were walking
Well,
around
yeah,
everywhere.
Kenny keeps threatening to bring one of his Florida snakes to
No, thank
Michigan
you.
when we lay finish lines. I said, "Don't you?" I told Brandy, "Don't you ever let him do that. I don't want no. I don't like snakes."
We actually used to do a snake avoidance training during Tracklahoma. They've done that before, and it was quite interesting. So that might be something for you to ask your OBTA mentor about, Shane, and see if you can
I'd
get
love to do that.
information from him, because I know they've done that before, and that's
Pretty important.
we used to keep snakes, so it's it's all about what kind of snake it is for me. Yeah, Zoe, I told her about that, and she was kind of upset she didn't go on that line with us because she's
She wanted to see the snake.
she's
Yeah,
so she would have liked to have seen
that thing. They're all scoundrels to me. I don't care what kind of snake it is. It's all snake. Yuck. We have big, giant, long blue racers here on my place.
Yes.
And I get massively creeped out when I see one of those things. I had one slither into the rock pile with me while I was turkey hunting, and now I don't know if I've, I don't. I'll take
That would be
pass.
my last turkey hunt.
Well, it might have been. I haven't turkey hunted in a long time. Let's grab some comments. Yeah, Mike Miller says everybody was bleeding, but I was bleeding the most. Yeah, I was bleeding the most. Ryan Davis says, "Quit whining, Matt. Wait a minute, vines don't hurt when it stops." That's true. It'll feel like my grandfather used to say, it feels so good when it gets done hurting, you want to do it all over again.
That's right.
Courtney DeMello says, "Don't let Matt Berger fool you, laugh out loud. He likes running lines through the pricker bushes." I had to, her season line, I had to go through a briar patch to maintain the line standard. So it went through a little briar patch. But it was, Courtney, it was nothing like the death vine, whatever devil's rope that was. Tom or Michael Miller again talking about the event. I learned a lot, and my dog is benefiting from it. So thank you for that feedback. Travis Muncie, Stella's problem solving all on her own. 5 months old, and as soon as she loses scent, she starts automatically circling until she comes back to it. That's awesome, Travis. Travis, remind me what kind of dog Ellie is. Wesley Bivens says, "What is the name of the boots you all use to lay lines? Where can I get them? I'm tired of sticks and zip ties." Well, the sticks made my shoulders sore. Wesley, they're Wascow shoes. You can get them from Darren Miner. I highly encourage you to give him a shout on Facebook. He is incredibly responsive. And you will not be disappointed. Wascow and Darren Miner. He's an ABTA judge too. So get a hold of Darren, Wesley. Travis Muncie said, love problem solving. It teaches us and the dogs so much. 100%. Kenny says, you will learn more as a handler by watching other dogs, by watching others work their dogs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely true.
Absolutely true. And Megan, we already told you where to get your tackle.
I'll send you my shipping address, Kenny. I'm ready. Anytime. Let me go.
Kenny loves those bloodhounds. He'd probably trade you for one.
Oh, well, that
Yeah.
I can.
So back to Kenny, when you asked him when he says typical bloodhound, you asked which of the 5. He said all of the stinky jerks. Ha ha ha. Stinky, I will give you. Jerks, yes, at times.
I will give you Stinky and Jerk for Creole. Briar is my goodest girl, and she can do no wrong.
She was a sweetie.
There's that. But Creole, yes, he is 100%. He is a jerk most of the time.
Matt Lord Kenny says, I remember telling him the same thing in Iowa, talking about the knot on your lead with Bobby Ray. But again, I understand why you have it, because I lost Baru one time on a track. I'm certain the deer was dead. And she went through some stuff, and I had to crawl down underneath, and she really liked it, man. And she took off, and I didn't have a knot at the end, and then I couldn't grab tight enough, and she slipped out and was gone for like 45 minutes. You ever seen a 52-year-old adult man cry in the woods? He almost did that day. She finally came back. I'm sure she was over on the deer that was dead that we couldn't go to. But boy, that scared the crap out of me. That's when I absolutely came back and ordered my electronics. So I understand why it's there, but boy.
I had the same thing happen with Bobby Ray when he was like 9 months old. He took off after a bobcat on a track.
Oh, no.
Don't know what he would have done with it if he found it, but I lost him, and that was scared to death. But he come back about 25 later. I was able to put him back on the line, and then he ended up finding the deer. But if he'd have found that bobcat, he probably would have got a whooping. So who knows? But that's part of the reason I have that knot on there.
Yeah, and again, I get it. I understand it. But, I know Elizabeth's going to order a new battery for your Garmin, man. But when you get that, let me know when it's up and running. I'll send you that quick little tutorial series that I did. Someone asked me to do it. It kind of walks you through how to set everything up and do some things with it. And you can do so much with it in training. It's kind of what you saw there. But, it'll do you well. Michael Beck says, once you become fluent with your electronics, they will help you find deer when you're struggling in terrain and thermals. And I agree with that. There's some conversation about going on every line you can, because you can learn something. Kenny we touched on that. Scent isn't always on the ground. Sometimes maybe it's suspended, and if their head's up, that's good. Craig Reeder says, when we were talking about unclipping the dog and training off lead, just to learn the tendencies, Craig says, that's the only way I've been able to try and figure out my drop. I thought she was a mess, and it was me not knowing how she works. So it'd be interesting to know just what a border collie does. Right. Breeds have just common tendencies, and then each dog within that breed has their, I guess maybe general. Maybe I should rephrase that by saying breeds have their general styles, but then within that breed, each individual dog can have their tendencies, right?
Mm-hmm. We've noticed that a lot because we had them tested, or at least Topper genetically tested. So he's like 25% Pyrenees, and he's so small for being in the Pyrenees category. But I have 2 large Pyrenees here, and their nose is all the time on the ground. And I've had
Good luck getting them to do what you want them to do, though.
Yeah, they're very headstrong, which is kind of cool, you
That's
know,
and
that could be good for when I'm being stupid and I don't know it. And then the fact that I've had full-fledged border collies before, and the demeanor, they're a lot bigger and they're a little bit more hyper, and they do keep their heads up a lot. So having this little genetic split, I think, is an asset. In this case, being that the internal part of the border collie wants to search, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Shane needs a blackmouth cur, Kenny says.
What do you say?
Shane needs a blackmouth cur, that little pup that I showed you here.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get here going. I'm going to try to do something this weekend. Just been super dynamic for me lately. Yeah, Kenny also says, I'm glad we don't have snakes in Florida when we were talking about that venomous python thing that you saw. Travis, okay, yeah, blue tick. That's right. I remember. I'm sorry. You're welcome, Michael Bivens. You won't be disappointed, buddy. So Gerald Stauffer says, I keep forgetting to put him up there. What apps do you guys use to measure the distance that you went on a live track? I was using Onyx, but it kept rounding to the distance to the 10th of a mile. I couldn't get it to say measuring in yards.
It does have a yard feature on there.
Yeah, but it does round a little bit.
It does round.
I know on the iPhones that is typically the case. I have a Samsung and mine does not do that. So if you have an iPhone, that could be the reason. And
another reason to get rid of an iPhone. That's a good point.
I've actually contacted Onyx about that, and they said that there's not really anything they can do. But myself personally, I use Onyx. I have a Galaxy. I don't tend to have that issue. I just go to the tools and then go to tracking and hit start, and then stop, obviously, when you're done. And then we mentioned earlier Hunt Stand. It's very similar to Onyx. I used it a lot this weekend, and I don't use it a whole lot, but I was pretty impressed with it. It's pretty user-friendly. And Dog Tracks is another great app that you can download, and it's got the satellite features and stuff like that as well, especially for training lines, because it shows you the age of the line. So if you're wanting to put your dog on longer lines, it's kind of, you can't mess it up, because as soon as you are done, it starts aging it and tells you how long it's been laid and all of that. So those are some great ones if you're using phone apps, apart from the Garmin and the Dog Trip Pathfinders.
Yeah, I would tell you, I agree with all of that. I have a good phone because I use an Android-based system. So I'm teasing. I'm just not an Apple fan. Not that they're not great products. It's just not me. But I will tell you, man, Dog Tracks is my go-to for training app. Yeah, I agree, Kenny. Dog Tracks is cool, but I just can't. I have fallen so hard for my Garmin that tells you all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I have fallen so hard for it. It's expensive. I'm not going to pretend like it's not expensive. I mean, $1,400 if you're going to get a 300 with a TT25 somewhere in there. 11 to $1,300 probably if you buy brand new. But my goodness, you can do so much with it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, those phone apps, yeah. I'm surprised that there's not a setting. There's not a setting within Onyx, even on iPhone, that can switch it to yards. I'm surprised by that. But okay, cool. Yeah, you're welcome, Gerald. Always glad to help. Yeah, what Kenny brings up a good point, Gerald. If you're interested in a Garmin system. ABTA members, you have to be a member to get to access the discount code, but ABTA members get discount at Conkeys on Garmin supplies.
They carry ones also. You don't have to buy a brand new one. They have good used and refurbished equipment also.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So I'm a huge fan and always recommend those first. Tenths of a mile to yardage. Over time, you'll be able to translate tenths of a mile to yardage in your head. Maybe, Michael. I'm not. Maybe for some. So look, guys, we've been at it for a little over 2 hours. I really appreciate it. It's always fun discussion. So let's come back to the event. You know what, Matt Lord, what would your final comments be, or closing words of wisdoms regarding the event and testing, or anything else in general, man? What's your
I don't know about words of wisdom. On the event, I'd say anytime you get a chance to watch somebody else work their dog, take advantage of it, because that's probably I really enjoyed watching everybody. You know, the three that got to work their dogs for the whole event where we got to watch them. That was really cool. I've never watched a tackle work, so that was really cool watching. What was the name again? Marley. Yeah, Marley was super cool to watch. They were all cool to watch, but that last one was really fun. But yeah, I feel like you can learn a lot from just watching other people and watching their dogs, because every dog's going to run different, but there's lots to learn from watching other people. I've only ever watched one other person run a dog before this event, so that was really cool. But all in all, just I thought it was a great event, and I enjoyed all of it. So that's all I got.
I'm glad you came. It was awesome. Shane and Nikki, how about yours? And man, I'm super stoked when you can get us those ready, because I'm going to put out a whole. I'll share that stuff on the ABTA web Facebook page when you're ready to.
We're wrapping up with it right now, so
it's like I told Megan, my tech is ancient, so if I can get the second day stuff to upload tonight, should have them ready by like tomorrow or the next day.
We're doing no rush, no pressure. I'm excited about it. I want you guys to.
No, I'm super impatient too, so I got it done.
We definitely want to get it done and move on with more pictures, in the future. So
I would say like just being like maybe the odd man out here, but being the less seasoned of the group, like I highly encourage anybody to go to one of these events if they're interested in doing this, or like starting off. Even like if you've been doing it for a while on your own, you just will make leaps and bounds when you actually have that community to help.
It's kind of like my grandpa said, you don't have the same amount of time that I had to learn everything, so you better shorten it up.
Yeah.
And so being around other people helps you excel a lot faster on something that is taking a long time. You can learn passed down methods and proven methods without having to make the same mistakes that like I made on this track that I knew I possibly could experience. But it's the preparation of knowing that you need to watch it there. So I have a lot of friends, and that's why I promote the everything that has to do with all the organizations and stuff, because I have a lot of friends that they're best friends sitting there right beside the couch, and you may be sitting on an all-star you don't even know. It's like picking a Mario Kart player. They all look different and they all have different stats. It's like, what you gonna run with your deal? So it's a grown man's Chuck E. Cheese, if you will.
No, that's funny. That's funny.
That slides, Matt. Grown man's Chuck E. Cheese.
Yep. Printed on a T-shirt. Tracking events is a grown man's Chuck E. Cheese.
Available here at all our merch, So I would say thank you guys for everything, all the work that you guys did. You can definitely tell that you enjoy it, because nobody in their right mind would do all the hard work that you did for 13 or 14 or 15 people, whatever it was that we had in our group, But I can honestly say I've seen it better than that, Megan, you'll go out and you'll do these things and you'll give people a call and you make it readily available for people to participate and you don't expect anything out of it. That right there is what sells me above all the other things, because genuine people are hard to find, and here's a whole group of them.
I'll say it is an industry where I feel like everybody wants you to win, and they'll help you do whatever you need to do to get there.
No matter which car or Ferrari you select.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's cool. Megan, what are your closing thoughts before I share mine?
I just wanted to let everybody know that I am super appreciative. You guys came. Matt came a long distance, and like I said earlier, the folks from Kansas, they're in north central Kansas, so I know that was a really long trip, and I really appreciate that you guys gave us that opportunity to kind of come and see what ABTA had to offer and have an open mind about it, even though it wasn't our typical event that we usually host in Oklahoma. I feel like we had a lot of really great takeaways, and we tried to make it as involved, interactive, I guess, with lots of open blog and stuff as possible. So thank you for coming, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to test your dogs. And I hope that you guys learned something or took away something from it. Good, bad, or ugly, otherwise. And we hope to see you guys all back next year.
That's cool. Well, so my closing thoughts are a little bit of not so much event specific, but a little more Megan bragging on a couple of points.
Oh, no, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Megan did a outstanding job of just coordinating everything in a pretty dynamic couple of months, pulling it all together. There was some uncertainty at times, and just the behind the scenes to pull this together was a little more than what we would typically do. And Megan stuck it out, was really kind of the glue that held it together. And I couldn't be happier that it played out the way it did. And we owe a whole bunch of this to Megan. The other thing I want to brag about is Megan, this was her first event testing. She's a new ABTA judge. She had judged one line. I was her mentor. She had judged one line before the event, and she tagged along on 3 of the 4 tests that I had assigned to me. And she judged 2 of her own lines, and I got to tag along on 1 of her 2. And Megan, there it is. There's her certification when she passed.
Yeah, stop it.
I could not have been more proud and happy, in whatever the case may be, with how you handled everything. Just a wonderful job. You are going to be an excellent judge for the ABTA. Oklahoma is fortunate to have you in their network, and the ABTA is fortunate to have you as a judge in the state of Oklahoma. You did a wonderful job, and I'm not just making that up. I mean it with all sincerity. In fact, I got a little humbled listening to you to give feedback, thinking, damn, I got to give better feedback listening to Megan. Well done, kiddo. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. That means a lot to me. I don't consider myself a veteran by any means, but I do take this very seriously, and I put my heart into it. And I just try to keep learning. I'm part of the mentorship program that Emily and Kenny and everybody set up. I'm the chairman for that with ABTA. And, I've learned a lot, through that process as well. So anything that I can do to try and help and grow the association, I think is a positive. So if that means that there's only a few of us here in Oklahoma, and I can help those few, then that's, to me, that's excellent, because this organization offers that much little bit more, I think, as far as really getting trackers to their peak level, and expanding everything that they previously knew, and just kind of tweaking it where it's just a little bit more informative. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, nicely done, man. And Nikki, don't threaten me with a good time, you say. If you guys can, go to Pennsylvania. I mean, Alabama's coming up too. That's a little bit
Oh
closer
yeah, I
for
saw
you.
that one.
That's coming up May 1st, but go ahead and put it on your calendars, May 29 through 31. I think.
From what I've heard, that's going to be a large event.
Yeah,
So
right now.
That I spoke with him a little bit earlier today about that, and I think it's super exciting. The signups and stuff that they have as of right now, I think it's going to be super stellar. So looking forward to hearing about that afterwards.
Yeah. If you guys can work it out, I would highly encourage you. You will have a great time there. You will learn a ton there too. A whole another group of a whole bunch of people, and you'll have a whole bunch of fun taking another super cool venue. I've never been there, but I can tell by the pictures the venue is awesome too. So anyway, guys, that's it, guys. So I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you jumping on. I know I was pestering you, 4 hours before. Hey, dude, you want to come on the live stream tonight? 4 hours before we did it. So
yeah,
really
thank you for coming on and bringing your dog. Your family is great.
Okay.
It was super nice, though. I appreciate you guys coming, and you did an awesome job. So congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Yeah, glad to do it. So, all right, guys, hang with me. We won't hold anybody hostage anymore, but we'll debrief after this. But guys, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining. Appreciate you letting us hang out together in Oklahoma. And let's not be strangers, man. That's what it's all about: building connections and building long-lasting friendships. And I feel like that's what we're doing here. So let's be sure we do. So, guys, more of the good, less of the bad. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.